For decades, Germany has been Europe's economic bedrock, right? The unshakable powerhouse. But what happens when that powerhouse starts to show some serious cracks? That's exactly what we're diving into today, the complex and intense challenges that Germany is facing right now.
And this really is the central question. You see, for so long, Germany's stability was just a given. It was the reliable engine pulling the rest of Europe forward. But now, it feels like a perfect storm of pressures is putting that entire reputation to the test. And the shockwaves? They could affect every single one of us, not just in Germany, but all across the continent.
So here's how we're going to break it all down. First up, we'll talk about why they call Germany Europe's engine and why it's sputtering. Then we'll get into the economic squeeze, from the government all the way down to family budgets. After that, we'll explore how the nation is becoming more and more divided, look at the political fallout from all this stress, and finally, we'll ask what it really means for Germany to be at this critical crossroads.
Okay, let's jump into part one, Europe's engine in trouble. To really get a grip on the crisis today, we have to understand the massive role Germany has always played in Europe.
You know that phrase, the engine of Europe? It's not just some catchy nickname. It's practically a job description. For years and years, Germany's industrial strength and its, well, economic discipline have literally pulled the entire European Union forward. So the question becomes, what happens when that engine starts to fail?
And here's the thing, you gotta understand, these aren't separate problems. No, they're all tangled up, and they're all hitting at the exact same time. You've got rising prices, which fuels political anger, which then gets caught up in these fiery debates over migration, all while the whole economy is slowing down. It's this combination, this perfect storm, that makes this moment so incredibly difficult.
And that storm brings us right to our second section, the economic squeeze. This is where all those big, headline-grabbing problems start to feel very, very real for everyday people and for businesses.
I mean, this is the daily reality for millions of German families. We're not talking about abstract economic theories anymore. We're talking about the actual, tangible cost of filling up your car, heating your home, and putting food on the table. And these kitchen table issues, they're now fueling this widespread feeling of frustration across the country. And look, this isn't just a vibe or a feeling people have. The official data is telling the exact same story. Economic experts have had to slash Germany's growth forecast. And that's a huge warning sign that the recovery everyone was hoping for, it's going to be a lot slower and probably a lot more painful than anyone expected. The pressure is on from the very bottom all the way to the top.
This table here really lays out the dilemma perfectly. On the left, you've got the pillars of Germany's success for decades, a manufacturing powerhouse built on exporting goods around the world. But then you look to the right, and you see the new reality. Sky-high costs for energy and production, intense competition from countries like China, and just this general uncertainty in the world, it's all chipping away at those traditional strengths. Now, all this economic anxiety, it doesn't just stay in a spreadsheet. It spills over into society, and it's making old tensions worse and creating brand new ones. So in our third section, let's look at how Germany is becoming a nation divided. And right at the heart of all these social divisions is the massive debate over migration. It has become one of the most polarizing, most emotional issues in the entire country, and it's having a huge impact on how people vote and which political parties are gaining power.
And you can really see the two competing stories here. On one side, you have a pretty big chunk of the population that's calling for much stronger border controls. They're worried about social services and integration. But on the other side, you have this undeniable economic reality. Germany needs migrant workers. I mean, key sectors like hospitals, restaurants, services, they absolutely depend on them. And this tension, this clash, creates an incredibly tough puzzle for any politician to try and solve. So, you've got economic stress, and you've got deep social division. What happens when you mix those two together? You get a volatile, unpredictable political landscape. Let's dig into the political fallout. This quote right here, it just nails it. When people are worried about their money, about their family's future, that anxiety has to go somewhere. And very often, it transforms into political anger. And that's when voters start looking for new answers and new leaders. And you can see that anger showing up directly in the polls. The far-right alternative for Germany, the AfD, has been really successful at channeling all that public frustration over things like high energy bills and migration. And the result? A huge surge in their support, especially in local elections, and that is completely reshaping the balance of power in German politics.
All of this puts just an immense amount of pressure on the current coalition government, which is led by Chancellor Olaf Scholz. They are basically in a race against time. The public is demanding solutions now, and their political opponents are ready to capitalize on every single misstep. The pressure to deliver quick, visible results is just enormous.
So this all brings us to our final section. With all these different pressures coming together at once, Germany really does find itself at a crossroads, staring down a critical choice about its own future. So what's the official game plan? Well, the government is falling back on what Germany has always done well, thinking long term. They're pushing ahead with massive investments in things like green infrastructure and public spending projects, all designed to build a strong foundation for a future recovery. The big question, though, is whether that traditional playbook can work fast enough for a very impatient public. And that's the real problem, because today's challenge is a totally different kind of beast. In the past, Germany could take on problems one by one with that methodical, long-term planning. But now, the economic crisis, the political division, and the social unrest, it's all hitting at the same time. It's that perfect storm we talked about, and the old strategies might not be enough to handle it. So what's the big takeaway here? Why should you care? Well, this isn't just a German story. Remember, they're the engine of Europe. Any kind of instability, any major change of direction in Germany, it sends shockwaves across the entire continent. The economic and political future of Europe is deeply, deeply tied to how Germany gets through this difficult time. Which leaves us with this one final, crucial question. Is this just a temporary rough patch that German resilience will eventually overcome? Or are we actually witnessing the beginning of a much deeper, more fundamental shift in the country's politics and its place in the world? The answer to that is going to define the next chapter, not just for Germany, but for all of Europe.